Hello and welcome back to the Women's Football Chat. Today we're going to be talking about Chelsea and the one position they need to address, which is of course centre back. We did consider central midfield, and there are a lot of links there with the likes of Grace Galloro, Manuela Giuliani, and a couple others, I think, Teresa Abelera one. But we're going to talk about centre half because I think it's a more pressing issue. Now obviously this summer Chelsea have seen Mara Mielda and Jess Carter leave. Huge losses there, right?
Yeah, very much so. Not just in terms of their playing time, especially with Carter. The amount of minutes she played last year was incredibly high. And, two, ageing players, but what you call they're your leaders in the dressing room. They've been brilliant servants for Chelsea over the last few years. They're two big losses, and Chelsea need to address that quickly.
Yeah, definitely. Now, we thought Brooke Ashman would come in and play a huge role for Chelsea this season. She's not been included, though, in the squad that's taken the pre-season tour to the USA. We can only assume that means she's headed out on loan, which I think is a positive thing, because I think another WSL loan would do her the world of good. At Bristol City last season, we didn't really get an understanding of how good she is. It was also a camp that she'd been in before. She was a Bristol City player. We signed her and loaned her back to Bristol City. To test her in a new environment, I think would be really useful to get an indicator of how good she is. So that does only leave Chelsea with 4 senior centre-halves, one of which is Aniek Nguyen, whose contract expires next summer. She's 25 years old and she currently has an ACL injury that she sustained with the Netherlands youth side, I think, in December. So it's a weird point at the moment where there are only 3 fit centre-halves for Chelsea. So we've got Khadija Buchanan, 28 years old, has been very solid, but her contract does expire next summer. Chelsea are keen to renew it, but apparently Buchanan is not.
Well, I find that it's an interesting one for Buchanan. I think Buchanan, obviously a very, very good centre-half and has had some really good games in a Chelsea shirt. Has looked a little shaky last season at times. I think, coming into that campaign after what was a torrid World Cup for Canada, Buchanan then came to season and that form continued, and she did struggle to start with. Eventually got to grips with, got back to her best. And then also we've just seen her do well at the Olympics with Canada. So obviously, as you say, for Chelsea, it'll be paramount that they keep her. But if the player's not happy, the player's not going to stay. It's as simple as that.
It's a big loss, though, and if they were to lose Buchanan for free, of course, that would be a real shame. Millie Bright as well, contract expiring next summer, 30 years old. Is that one you think Chelsea will be keen to renew, or would they look at letting her leave?
I think Chelsea will want to renew it, but the problem is it's in a weird scenario for Chelsea at the moment. With this whole changing of the guard, we've seen Hayes go, we've seen Carter go, we've seen Berger go. Kirby's gone as well.
Big one.
Bright will feel that maybe now or next season is the time to start thinking about moving on from Chelsea. She is still 30, got a couple of years left in her, but she's definitely on the wrong side of the age number you really want. It's a very interesting one as well. Obviously, really struggled last season. Was out injured for the majority of the campaign here and there. Would come back for 2 weeks, then would be back injured again, and then was out for a lengthy spell. So it's a tough one to manage. You've got a 30-year-old centre half who's been a brilliant servant for your club, best centre half for Chelsea in the last few years, but she's had a terrible time with fitness over the last year or two, and her contract's up. It's a tough situation for Chelsea. I think that'll be renewing her contract will be a decision that we made over the course of the season, I think, because it's too early to tell now. But it's worrying that you've got 2 centre-halves there who will both, their contracts will both run out at the end of the season.
Well, same with Nguyen. We could potentially have 1 senior centre-half come next summer, which would be an interesting prospect. Of course, the other defender we haven't spoken about yet, Natalie Bjorn, joined in January, is on a contract of 2027, 27 years old. I think she looked really solid in her first 6 months in Chelsea Blue. I think that's something we'll be looking to build on next season. I think a partnership of her and Buchanan could be the one that we see start. I would think Bright may start the season, but it'll be interesting to see Bright versus Buchanan, who gets more minutes, who decides to stick around. Because for me, it's about renewing one of Buchanan or Bright. I don't think we need both, personally. I think obviously we can manage with both, but both will want to start for a top club, and I do have doubts about both of their fitness, to be fair, but mainly those injury concerns for Millie Bright.
Yeah, exactly that, and it's one of those. It's such a hard situation to deal with, especially with a new manager coming in, because essentially Bonpastor's got, realistically, if you're going to renew their contracts, you're going to want to do it pretty quick. You're going to want it soon. So Bonpastor's got less than a season to decide whether she wants Bright and Buchanan, or both, or one or the other. It's a really difficult decision for Bompastor to make, but it's a decision that Chelsea have to get right because, as you say, with 3 centre halves, all running, all having contracts that run out at the end of this campaign, they cannot afford to let them all go. They've got to make a decision soon on who they're going to keep and who they're going to let go.
And how is Bompastor expect to make a decision on Ania Knuan, who hasn't played football since December? So I think it's a really difficult spot Chelsea are in right now. Obviously, Aspin will come back next summer. Yeah. So you're going to have Aspin and Bjorn there, you would assume, unless, I don't know, Barcelona spend loads of money on Natalie Bjorn. But so you've got those two. I think if you keep one of Buchanan or Bright, you still need another centre half. Even if you keep both of them, I'd probably look at another centre half. So let's talk about some options then. I've listed out some targets that I think Chelsea should be pushing for. The first of which is the most obvious one, the one that we spoke about quite a lot this summer with a very successful campaign for the USWNT at the Olympics. It is Naomi Girma. I think she looked incredible in the Emma Hayes USWNT system. She's 24 years old, so she's still got a lot of career ahead of her, but she already looks like such a incredible centre half. Yeah,
very much so. She's a very young centre half, but for me, she's one of the best centre halves in the world at the moment. A phenomenal player, as you say, a pivotal part of that gold medal winning USWNT side. I think she's what you see as a classic defender. If there's a defender, get that last line defence, getting the blocks in, getting the tackles in. She stopped. The amount of goals that she stops purely on her own is incredible. She is a phenomenal defender. And I think it just, whoever she plays for, whether it's domestically or internationally, it is that solidity that she brings that makes her so good. To be so young, but to have the quality that she possesses is such a good thing, because as she grows, as she gets older, she's just going to get better and better. And as I say, she's already one of the best in the world. There's a ceiling there that Chelsea will look to explore, and I'm sure they'd love to have her.
Yeah, obviously she currently plays domestic football for San Diego Wave. I think if a deal was to be explored, we'd be looking at the most expensive signing of a defender in history. I think we would be pushing. You've got to think it'd be over $500,000, maybe even in the millions. I think it would be a very, very expensive deal. However, I think she's worth it. She is incredible in possession. 90.7% pass completion rate in the NWSL last season, over the first half of this season, 5.4 progressive passes per 90. So people look at that pass completion rate and say, well, clearly she's just very safe in possession. Likes to pass it around the defenders. The goalkeeper doesn't really do anything with it. But those progressive passes show that she is also ambitious on the ball. So a 9% pass completion rate, while also playing forward passes, progressive passes, that's really encouraging stuff. It means she's getting that ball forward. It means that she is able to retain possession very nicely. I think she'll be a solid option. Strong tackler as well. We've seen that with the USWNT. I think she's a fantastic player. She's also a large space defender. No, she's not a Guardian of the Galaxy. She's just very good at covering large amounts of space and being able to keep up with attackers and covering those options. So, a really, really solid player, and someone I think would form a huge part of Chelsea's future backline. I think if we were looking at next season at a partnership of Bjorn and Girma, with Aspin in rotation, with Bright or Buchanan in rotation, that's really, really solid. And I mean, I think Girma comes in, and we're talking already about, could Arsenal or City close that gap? I think Girma comes in and very much puts an end to those discussions, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Chelsea's biggest problem last season was getting caught out defensively. Obviously, with Bright being injured, you had a back two of Carter and Buchanan, and no offence to either of them, but they're not the quickest centre-halves. And Chelsea's main problem defensively was that getting caught out in behind. As you say, Girma covers a lot of space. She covers that ground, she gets back in, she makes the last-ditch tackle, or she doesn't get caught out in the first place. So it's a win-win situation, and I think she's the perfect defender to solve Chelsea's main problem.
Yeah, it's also worth saying with these targets, it's not impossible that Chelsea sign more than one of these, especially these next two are going to be slightly cheaper than Naomi Girma, so they might be more doable. You could possibly get both of them for the same price you would Girma.
Yeah.
So I think that's more feasible. Up next then, Tatiana. For anyone who watched the Olympics, the Brazilian defender is incredible. 21 years old, plays for Houston Dash at the moment. She is an absolute physical warrior. She's so strong. She pocketed Paralluelo. But I think that's even a bit softer term. She bullied Paralluelo in that game against Spain. Paralluelo barely touched the ball because Tatiana was on her back at every moment, and she is a literal giant. 183 centimetres tall, which was about 6 foot, I think, in our measurements, which would be the tallest WSL player, taller than Khadija Shaw.
Wow.
By a centimetre, but that could make the difference. If they're both leaping forward, she's a centimetre taller, Khadija Shaw's threat is completely nullified. So, Easy clean sheet against City, though.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one, as you say. She's an absolute excuse me. She's an absolute brute, and no striker in the world wants to put up with her. I think defensively she does what you need her to do. I would have some reservations about her, her ball playing stuff and her in possession stuff, and the physicality can be a little reckless at times. I think, which is something that she would have to tone down to come over and play in the WSL. If not, she is going to pick up yellow cards. We know what Emily Heaslip's like; card be out every second. But so definitely would have to, I think, adapt a few things and develop her game. But there's no saying she can't do that. If she came into the WSL, playing for a team like Chelsea, one of the best in the world, your game is going to grow. Your game is going to get better. So I definitely think it would be a sensible signing, and that physicality trumps everything. To be able to bully anyone in the world off the ball is an incredible trait that not many defenders carry.
Yeah, definitely. I do think that there is a little bit of a doubt in her ability to play in a back four. She plays in a back three for Brazil, of course, and we saw her at the centre of that look really solid. The one thing I would add to that is I don't hate the idea of Chelsea going to a back three. You would be able to play Niamh Charles as a wing back there, where I think she would look even stronger because you get more of that attacking output. So I don't necessarily hate that idea. And obviously, we may look like a back three in possession next season anyway, if Bronze decides to sit, which feels ambitious, but you never know. We could look like a situational back three if Canarai's keeping the width, if Charles is bombing up the left-hand side, if James coming inside. We could look like a situational back three. But I think Tatiana would be a really solid option, slightly more affordable as well. 21, so there's a lot of room for development there, and that on the ball, that possession-based stuff is definitely something that can be taught.
Yeah.
I think it could be a really nice option.
Yeah, very much so. I think, as you say, it'd be cheaper as well than for someone like a Girma. It's not as much of a statement signing. It's not as much of a
definitely not.
Ceiling raising signing, but it definitely would be an important signing if Chelsea made it.
I think if we sign Naomi Girma, the rest of the WSL would just pack it in. I think I'd have quits on the spot.
I think other sides would find it very hard to catch Chelsea.
His post-match press conference after that happening, or his next press conference after that signing happening, would be incredible to watch. Just the tears. Up next, though, we've got a WSL proven player, very comfortable in possession. It's, of course, Maya Le Tissier. I want to have someone in here who was WSL proven, because I think that is such an underrated quality. The WSL, in my opinion, is the best league in the world. I think the NWSL could make a rightful complaint. I think if Liga Rev even gets involved in this conversation, I'm not talking about it. But Maya Le Tissier, very, very good in possession. She's only 22 years old. She has got a long-term contract with Manchester United, but with the way the Manchester United are going right now, it's not impossible to take her out of that, and I think they would accept a bid in the region of 400, 500,000, I would expect. So I think this could be a really nice option. She's obviously incredible in possession. We've seen that this season. We've also seen how tactically inept she is. She's very good at picking out pockets of space, at doing tactical things that are very interesting. We saw her this season play as that libero type role. She was pushing up into midfield. And again, we saw how good she is on the ball because she was able to play a defensive midfield centre-half hybrid role where she's pushing up into that midfield and getting involved in the play. So definitely that's something interesting tactically that we could explore. I don't think Chelsea would necessarily do it because obviously the players around that would mean Charles would have to sit in. Bronze would have to sit in, which again feels ambitious. But yeah, I think she's a very good player. Versatile as well. She can play at right back. I know we've got a lot of right backs now, but that would be an option. And her high block, she has very high block numbers, about 1.5 per 90 last season, which again does speak volumes about how many shots Manchester United conceded and how many times she had to bail them out. But it also shows that she's very good at getting her body in front of the ball and stopping those shots. But incredible in possession, WSL proven, seems like a very good signing.
Yeah, top quality defender, big fan of Maya Le Tissier. I think she's kind of Le Tissier feels like a jack of all trades, master of none. She can do everything to a very decent standard. I wouldn't say that she, because with Tatiana, her physicality trumps everything. That is her. She is the master of bullying strikers and making them feel uncomfortable and winning the ball back with her strength. For Le Tissier, I think she is just all round very good at everything. She has the versatility of playing at right back. She's a good centre half. She's not one of the tallest. She's not one of the strongest, but she can still put up a fight, even if it is a bit over the top. But you're allowed to get away with that when you play in a Man United shirt. But I think it would be a very, very good deal. English player, the squad know her. She's looked really, top quality for United, top quality for England. I think it'd be another really good option. Chelsea are in a great position because basically they can go get anyone they want. To a certain degree, they're not going to get Bon Mati or someone, but they can go.
You never know. There is a release clause there. There is triggered, I believe. So, yeah, I will add that Laetitia is not possible this summer. She only joined. She re-signed Manchester United in May, so a deal this summer wouldn't be possible. You would assume it's Man United, so you never know. But you would assume that would have to wait till next summer at the very earliest. I still think that's okay because you're going to have Brighton Buchanan this season. But that is going to be a deal that you'd have to kick down the line a little bit.
Yeah.
Tachiane would be able to join up immediately. Naomi Girma, of course, as well, would be a sign that could happen now. For me, Girma is the perfect sign.
Yeah.
If Naomi Girma joins Chelsea this summer, that is just an incredible bit of business.
Yeah.
For me, the best young centre-half in the world right now. If Wendy Renard didn't exist, possibly the best centre-half in the world. But
I think Paredes has something to say about that.
I think Paredes and Leon might have something to say about that. But I do think she's incredibly good, Naomi Girma, and I want to see her prove herself in Europe. I get, obviously, loves playing in the NWSL, but to prove herself in Europe would be an interesting prospect.
Yeah, very much so.
If you could do it with any team, why not Chelsea?
Is it that final piece of the puzzle that a Bon Pastor masterclass is missing? Is it that final piece in the puzzle that Chelsea need to go and win the UWCL? Potentially so. Hayes couldn't do it. Hayes, obviously phenomenal manager. I'm not saying Hayes is rubbish because she couldn't do it, but Chelsea could not get the UWCL. Bon Pastor, is she one elite signing away from challenging Barcelona?
I would say a midfielder's needed as well. With Melanie Leopold's gone, it leaves just Erin Cuthbert. But that's fine. No, there is obviously Sjoka Nusken still at the club. Ingles still here, but I think she'll depart next summer as well. So I don't think a midfielder is needed because we can't play just Erin Cuthbert, unfortunately. But that's my issue. I think if a Cuthbert Nusken pivot doesn't work for me because Sjoka Nusken scores goals. We need her in attacking area. I think that you could bring in some. I mean, we've been linked, as I said earlier. I know it's not the position I think we're desperate in. I think the centre half is more poignant because we can play, or pertinent because we can play Cuthbert and Nusken, and that's fine. But I want to see another central midfielder there. Gayoro would be a fantastic signing. Giuliani would be a great signing, and obviously Teresa Valera. I've spoken about her loads on this.
I guess just I've got a name.
Next Potter?
No, Jean-Francois.
Oh yeah, very true.
Does she?
And Yulia Bartel as well. Both players that would cover that defensive midfield role. So there are options there. But
you talk about that elite ceiling raising, Champions League winning signing. I think Francois and Bartel are going to be very, very good now. They're going to be brilliant going forward. But are they the ones to win Chelsea the Champions League right now? Who knows? Because realistically, that's the aim for Chelsea this season. You feel, with WSL obviously is always to target, always to win the league. But Chelsea have won that. Chelsea, obviously if Chelsea don't win it, it's be like that's an incredible shock. But the main thing for Bon Pastor coming in is that European success, and I think the main thing for Chelsea fans is the European success.
Yeah, I mean obviously Chelsea have risen now to third in the European rankings, only behind Lyon and Barcelona. They'll be keen to take the next step and go ahead of Lyon and Barcelona. They have to win the Champions League to do that, of course. Yeah. And I think that will be the ultimate goal of Bon Pastor's reign, even if that isn't this season. For me, this season, the paramount thing, and even if, to be fair, even if they don't win the WSL this season, I think Bon Pastor will stay on. Unless it's an unmitigated failure where Chelsea finish like 6th or something.
There has to be a trophy.
The minimum Bon Pastor will want, potentially not the board, but Bon Pastor will want to win the WSL because she if she doesn't do that, then immediately she's slipping off the success that Hayes has built there. And we've seen her talk a lot in her first interview about how she wants to build on that legacy that Hayes left behind rather than rip it all up and start again. Yeah. Which for me makes a lot of sense because it's not like when other legacy managers have gone, there is still the core of the squad there. Frank Kirby leaving, I love Frank Kirby, but she wasn't the key cog last season.
No.
And I think that Chelsea as a unit are still very much the same team. We've added a bit more quality to that. That success should keep coming in the league, and then Bon Pastor's job is to prove it with her coaching to go and win the Champions League.
Yeah, very much so. She's the next step.
I think so.
Will it pay off Chelsea? Who knows?
Who knows? Will be very interesting to see. But that is everything for today. I'm sure you guys have a lot of thoughts on what we've said, so do get involved in the comments down below. And of course, thanks to everyone that joined us yesterday or the day before. Yes. We were live for Chelsea versus Gotham. We are recording in advance, of course.
Cracking game.
Do join us this Sunday because Chelsea versus Arsenal out in the USA. It's going to give us our first taste of Bon Pastor versus Ida Val. Hopefully she clocks around the face. That's a joke. But I guess we'll see what happens. Could we see the start of a new rivalry? What an exciting time to see if that happens. But that is everything from us today. Thank you guys very, very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.